My name is Jason Barnes. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here, and learn how we use a lot of different tools available to us either in our system natively or available through third-party apps as our system is a platform to access a lot of those, how we can help retain patients. You work so hard to get them through the door, and we want to make sure that you have all the tools necessary to actually retain those patients, track them, make sure we know which ones are where and at what stage. So, today that's how we're going to be spending our hour together. So I'd like to dive right into that. I don't need to tell anyone who's joining a call like this why retaining patients is important. So we're going to skip that. Any successful practice is going to not only concern themselves with gaining new patients, but they're going to focus efforts on patients that they have and making sure that they complete treatment plans, make referrals, etc. However, we do have lots of examples of people who are excellent at going out and grabbing new patients, yet fail to do everything that they can to make sure the patients that they've already painstakingly retrieved from the grasp of mainstream healthcare, and they let them go. And so this is not a catch and release program. We're not the New Mexico State Prison. We want to keep you. So today we're going to go over 6 different areas: patient education, selling. You might ask, how is a program like Genesis going to help you sell to patients? I have no idea how somebody should talk to a patient, what their situation is, but I can help you in a couple different areas, and we'll go over that. Patient communication, patient tracking and measurement, follow-up, making sure that happens, and then how to track referrals so that you can retain the most patients. And again, our emphasis today will be mostly on how we can work together, practice a technology platform and a practice success coach to make these things happen. So we don't expect anybody who comes on board to be able to use all these tools without some coaching, without some help. But we do know, and we've got very good results, that we've been able to increase patient retention and achieve amazing results when we do get that teamwork rolling. So for anybody that is joining us, today we're talking about patient retention. If you do have a question, I ask that you chat it in. I am solo today, so I will be checking the chat as we're going, and we're going to dive right into the first topic. So I put some words up here that might be a little offensive, but you've heard them before, right? Patients who are coming in for total wellness care, they're not used to hearing this. So patient education is one of those keys. Well, I know I've been to chiropractic colleges, not as a student, but I've been to conferences where role-playing has taken place. I've been there. I've heard the words that are taught. I don't know how to echo that. I don't know how to mirror the passion of some of these doctors who have overcome brain cancer without chemo. However, I do know that we can help. So patient education is not only a one-time offering. They don't just come in for an examination, come back for a report of findings, and that one time you end up talking to them and doing a great job, helping that patient grasp the results of what can be achieved in their own body if you just unlock them. They have to be reminded of that. And this is where we're going to take that first foray right from a presentation and start getting into a demonstration in our system. So, and again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in, and we will attack them as, I'm not in the right place. I wanted to get somewhere else. All right, so what exactly can we do to help you? Patients who need to be educated are all of them. When? Right at the beginning of care, that's obvious. No doctor needs me to tell them that. However, when we do find ourselves in a situation where a patient is on the fence, you can tell you didn't make a connection as deeply or as intimately as you'd like to, what do you do in that situation? And I'd like to answer that question. Right here, we've gone over, if you haven't attended any of our webinars previously, here is an example of our interface if you've never used our system, but most of the people that attend these have. Here's an example of what our interface looks like. You can bring up right in front of the patient, here are your x-rays, here's what's going wrong, here are the angles which are way off, and those all look bad and they can be motivational. However, how do they know how that's going to affect them? Well, we have different tools to help educate. So you don't have to go out of your current technology platform. We actually offer third-party apps which integrate directly into your current app. So you're in the system already. A patient's having a problem. You can click on lower back. You can put together specific short 3D animations that show how it's damaging the patient right there in real time. Now, this is just one of the third-party apps that we're offering. Patient retention is contingent on how much they believe that their body is not perfectly aligned, that they need the care of a professional that is standing in front of them talking to them right now. They need to comply with a treatment plan because they can gain not only years of their life but quality back. And that can be done all in that same moment that you're using the system. So you're documenting, you're selling, all at the same time. So if we're able to choose a couple of these things, choose a condition. I am definitely not a doctor, but we can start putting together those 3D animations that show them exactly what's happening in their body at once. There's sound here. It doesn't come through the webinar, but this is one of those things where you can do it right then and there. So that's actually talking about their conditions. We have additional applications which can help them do a number of things. If they need home exercises, we can email exercise plans that are customized and put together. We can help patients get a whole bunch of valuable information on their conditions sent to them through this interface at the click of a few buttons. We don't have too much time today, so we're not going to go into all of that. That's not going to be the main focus of the automation we're talking about today. But that was the first thing that we were talking about, is retaining a patient. You've got to educate them. We don't know how to educate. You're the professionals. You know how to do that. But you have to overcome a ton of stigma out there. And we know that pictures say 1,000 words. We do have those pictures, and we do have those plans that allow us to help you educate that patient. Next is actually selling. Talking money, it's going to have to happen. At some point, in your report of findings and your recommendations, we're going to have to bring up, X number of visits that this is going to take, what commitment the patient's going to need to make. And those care plans that you're putting together, we have automated a great deal of that. They start with automating financial agreements. Whether or not you want to discount it, whether or not there's a coupon, whether or not they came in as a referral from another patient and that offers them something. We want to be able to automate that so that the patient can focus mostly on getting better. And when you have that financial conversation with them, you have a tool that helps automate that so each time they come in. What I'm referencing really, really specifically is if you're going to collect money all at once, we can do that and keep statements that are relevant to what the patient has accomplished so far. I'll show you that in just a moment. But what we found most popular is that doctors and staff who are having these sales conversations for care plans are able to put together, just like car payments, monthly payments that make the most sense. Each time a patient walks through the door, much like a prepayment, they don't have to think about going into their pocket and the pain associated with parting with hard-earned money. They get to come through the door. They're greeted by a staff who's well-trained, who helps them understand why they're here, and money isn't an issue for that day. Making sure that they're compliant with their treatment plan and they know when their next visit is all the conversation that needs to happen. So we are able to automate that and help you stay PCI compliant while doing it, so you can keep credit cards on file, run that card automatically once a month. It will reconcile the account, tell you what balance is, write off anything that's there automatically, so you don't have to focus on the financial or administrative part of the financial agreement. You get to focus on getting people better. we want to make sure that that's a focus so that patients don't have to think about that. And we know and have a great deal of experience with high volume practices. The biggest in the business use us, making sure they're focusing on the right thing as opposed to the dollars associated with that. And so how do we do that? We actually want to get into that right now. So we typically have a patient, that's going to get checked in. I've got a patient here at 12:30, just called the Genesis patient. There are a couple of interfaces that you're able to do this in, but I will just show you one of them that helps in two areas. One, the financial agreement, and two, the scheduling. Because if a patient doesn't have a schedule that they can count on, it doesn't allow the staff to help them remember those visits. So we're going to go to that more, and we're going to make a care plan. Okay, I hope this is big enough for everyone to see. I'll make it a little bit bigger. So this is a step-down counter that allows you to put, let's just say, 3 visits per week for 4 weeks. You can actually put visits on there by clicking on Monday, 1 p.m., done. Tuesday or Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Oh. I'm not going to put a full care plan in here. And Fridays at 4 p.m. Done. And if I was able to finish this entire care plan, I can say default visit is going to be adjustment. On my 10th visit, I need it to be a re-exam. On my 55th visit, I want to make it a re-sign visit. Whatever visit you want to do, we want to make sure we are able to sell to that patient right in the beginning. We're going to put this many visits on the schedule right now. This is a part of your commitment that you're going to be here, and the results are going to be achieved through this entire plan, not in 2 weeks, not by taking a pill. Next, we start getting in, and we actually put those appointments on the calendar. Next, those were actually made. So we get into the financial portion of this. I'm going to stop here for just a moment and kind of plug our next week's webinar. Our next week's webinar is a full discourse on how to use, create, and administer care plans with patients. So I'm not going to go into too much detail other than to say is we can create notifications, we can create automation for all of the financial portion of this, hold credit cards on file, process them, post payments to the account, and none of either you or your staff have to get involved with that. So we've really been able to do quite a bit. And so I'm going to finish out of this one at this point, and we'll finish the sales portion here by just saying we know that not every single one of the patients who is even using all of these steps makes it to the end of every single care plan. But we want to mitigate or reduce the risk of someone leaving. And having them focus on the money, we know, is one of the biggest things that we've been able to help doctors shift focus off of and back to wellness. And this has been a great tool for that. I do see a couple of people have continued to join us. If you do have a question, I ask that you please chat it in. All right. Next, communication. Kind of a broad topic here. Self-deprecating humor aside here, we know communication is key. However generic that sounds, we want to stay in touch with your patient. And whether or not that communication is for, hey, I've got an event coming up. Hey, I've got a radio spot coming up. Hey, I've got something going on for referrals. So I've got a promotion for this month. If you bring a referral, here's what's going to happen. But there's even more than that. What if we were able to trigger patient communication based on a diagnosis code, or a treatment, or a number of visits, or a birthday? We're able to help you stay in touch with that patient. We don't do all of that natively. And I'll give you a for instance. We've actually teamed up with a company called Infusionsoft, and another one or two are in the works for campaigns that are triggered that fall into different categories, such as dates, number of visits, or diagnoses. The texts. Now, I want to talk about reminder calls and reminder emails, reminder text messages, but we're also able to hold conversations with patients via text message as well. So if one of our reminders goes out, and I'll get into more depth on the reminders in just a few moments. If one of our reminders goes back and the patient, clicks on the link that's texted to them, they're able to text and we have a full interface that shows up through Zing It that helps the patient really understand that somebody's listening, because they can respond back, "Can I come tomorrow at 2?" Your staff can respond back, "2 p.m. it is, you're on the calendar, see you tomorrow." Those are the manual ones. The automated ones, you can see a couple of our third-party vendors are coming out with awesome campaigns that can be done that are going to be compliant with spam laws as well. So look forward to those on the horizon, because we've had lots and lots of doctors eagerly asking about it, and we're assured that those are out there. But in-office communication reminders is the next thing I'd like to talk about, and I'll actually take us into the system for a portion of that. So just to give you a high overview here, sticky notes, notifications, and compliance triggers. We want to make sure that you are properly notified when there is a problem or could be a problem with a patient. A couple of things that we know, and this will set up for our next topic as well, is we know that patients who miss an appointment are half as likely to come back. If you're going to have attrition, you have a 50% increase or more in some cases of that patient not coming back for any more of their treatment plan if they miss a visit. So we know that getting them reminded prior to that to prevent it, and then followed up with after the fact, is important. But if a patient does show back up after missing a visit, it's an opportunity where the doctor or staff members can be notified that that happened. All right, and let's take a look at that. So in this particular case, Fred Gibson here is red. It's the first indication that his font on his scheduled appointment has turned to red. You can customize that color to pink or fuchsia or green or whatever color you'd like to, but you want to be notified. That's the first thing that happens, is that it's past the appointment time, right? Next is we want to have some sort of pop-up if that patient was ever to come back in again. So I'll check in this next patient here. So this was set up, he has missed a visit in the past. This is a notification for that next patient saying, hey, he's checked in, notifying the front desk staff that, hey, this patient's missed a visit, it's time to talk to them about it. The next one is, hey, this patient only has a couple of appointments remaining. It's why? Why would we let somebody only get to a couple of appointments remaining? There are some good times when you know that they're into their care plan, or you're about to discharge them from acute or medically necessary care and get them into maintenance or wellness. That's a good situation. But if there's still an acute problem that needs to be treated, we want to make sure that we have the requisite number of visits to handle that. So the next one is just a generic one I put in for this demonstration, collect the monthly payment for those patients who aren't automated. Then they're paying by month. We want to make sure we let the front desk staff know that it's time to get that payment. All right, so I'm going to delete all and I'm going to close these. Next, the doctor is seeing this patient. We want to give them some real specific information, and that's why we have this visit ladder here. This is about patient retention. Each one of these, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see it, each one of these yellow boxes where my mouse is highlighting right now, it represents a week. So the week of November 8th, there were 4 visits and 1 was missed, so light pink. The week of August 2nd, there were 5 visits and 2 were missed. Now, the darker the red, the more the problem. So at a glance, just looking at colors between white and red, a clinician is able to determine whether or not their patient is compliant with their treatment plan. This is something you want to know in that moment. It's there to act as a prompt for patient retention. Is it time to resell the value? Is there a need for more patient education? Has this patient made any referrals? Let me make sure they're rock solid and they're going to keep coming back and they're going to bring their family and they're going to bring their friends. So we need to make sure that you as office staff or clinicians know what's happening. If that does happen, how do you know you're going to follow up? This is a foray. This last thing is a foray into how we can follow up on that. We're going to tackle more of this later, but we want to make sure we open specific tasks to staff members for at-risk patients. That's the last thing that we're going to do for patient communication. We know that we need to talk to them. We just need to know when. We don't help you with what. The doctor and the staff have to figure out the what. We're going to help you figure out the when you need to talk to that patient. All right. Tracking. Most of the time when I talk to new doctors or potential new doctors, they often ask, well, I need to make sure you have all the reports. And I inevitably ask them, all right, what are you going to do with that information? And when I'm specifically talking about reports, I'm talking about no-show reports. I'm talking about making sure that there are patients with no future appointments or re-signs or average value of patient or number of visits per patient. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time we have the data that they're looking for. For this particular demo practice, I will go in, just start to demonstrate a couple of the reports that we have. Appointment detail reports, giving you a full breakdown of which patients met with which doctors for which types of visits, etc. We can give you all the counts, no future appointments, no shows, no show frequency, all of the retention rates we want to be able to track. And that's fine. We're going to come back to this in a moment because this information is crucial to success. I am not suggesting for a moment that anybody discount this information. My question to you is, what are you going to do with this information when it happens? And that's what I'd like to tackle first. Workflow, making sure that day to day, everybody knows what to do. When you do find that there's a problem, I see a tendency to overreact. Get staff met every day, huddle, which no-shows do we have, who's following up? And that is great for short bursts of time. But I usually see the fuel in that tank run out and they have to pull off on the side of the road because the doctor can't focus on just one thing with that much energy and effort for a long period of time. So if that's you, if you're sitting out there and that's you and you've seen that happen and you react every few months, every 6 months, whatever it is, to no-shows or patients' retention problems in general, listen up. We're able to take that information on a real-time basis and change it into specific tasks assigned to specific people. We use it internally for any of our clients that don't meet with us. We want to make sure we know what's happening. I'll give you a couple of examples of this. We have a task management console here. I'm going to go to show you one thing here. Sorry, it was hard. All right. Here's an example of our clients as it stands right now. We have over 700 clients, and right now we have a total of 10 clients who missed visits with us actively. That doesn't mean we only had 10 no-shows in the last 5 days, 60 days, 100 days. It does not mean that. We could have had 200 appointments that were not kept. But we only have 10 that we are actively working on. We only have 10 clients or patients in this particular case that we absolutely have to follow up on. But I know who's following up on it, and I know what's happened with it because we have an automated task that says updating this ticket. We missed a ticket. We need to make sure that this person is followed up with soon. In your office, you can have this. If you're using our system right now, we call this Patient Relationship Management or PRM. It's available for every single client that uses us. It's a setting that will turn on that task to be opened up. There is customization that can be done with this task. You can customize this task to be opened up at the time, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, the day after the patient misses, so that your policy can be followed to a T. We can also turn on tasks for any patient that doesn't have a future appointment set up. I will demonstrate here. Here we've got 52 of our 700 plus clients. You can see at the bottom here, a total of 52 clients that do not have future appointments. Stats show us as well that our clients, patients who leave that office without a future appointment, not with 100% certainty aren't coming back, but are much less likely to come back. We want to make sure we don't let that happen. And there are notifications, like I showed you before, that can say, hey, there's only 2 visits left in this care plan. There's no future appointments for this person. Hey, you have to schedule it. But if somebody leaves your office, without a future appointment, what is your plan to follow up? If the plan is to look at a report a couple of days from then, a week from then, next month, and figure out which patients need to be contacted, it may already be too late. We are begging providers to work on a more real-time basis. If they use these tasks, these tickets, they're able to have somebody assigned very specifically to follow up on that patient that left without a future appointment. We automate it so that you as the practice owner don't have to worry about getting super focused on something for a short burst, hoping that your staff will catch on. Here, we come up with a real-time way to manage this, then we can help you hold people accountable. So that workflow is also for preventative maintenance. If we want to send reminder calls, reminder emails, or texts, if we want to make sure we have those automated processes in place, we don't offer those all natively, but we work with Zingit, Reminder Call, TextMD, a few other best-of-breed solutions to help your practice automate keeping that patient within arm's reach and within your grasp. You work too hard to get new ones, you cannot lose them out the back door, okay? Moving on to that reporting is the diagnosis tool to see when or where we need to turn on different workflow or automated tasks or procedures. We absolutely love having those reports. We need to do it, but whenever we want to get re-signs measured, or in this case, re-sings, we'll change that to re-signs. We want to get re-signs measured. We have to be able to go in and see the conversion rate for those patients who finished a treatment plan and then started up a new one. We have those numbers, they're available. You're then able to track month over month what it is. And I'll give you an example of that right now. Here's an example of a number of metrics that you're able to see on the home page from July through, and we'll just change this to October. So July through October, you can put in any date range that you want to. You can actually map and graph the number of no future appointments. So in this demo practice, you had 158 patients leave in the month of July without future appointments, 151, 152, and spiked up to 163. What's good, what's not? If you map that over the number of patient visits at the same time, you can get an idea of what the difference is, what that delta is. But if you had 151 patients leave without future appointments out of 455 total visits, our recommendation would be drastic. You have to do something immediately because your percentage is so high. If we look at no-shows versus your patient visits, we're able to graph that over a few months. No-shows at 93, no-shows at 59, no-shows at 80. There is a certain percentage you're going to have. Patients get flat tires. Patients have, personal things that they have to deal with. We want to make sure that this doesn't get out of control. You have to be able to track that to implement the things that are necessary for you to avoid this moving forward. We do make the suggestion, and I'll plead with any doctor, short bursts of energy, to refocus staff, we very, very rarely see work. Okay. All right, moving on to that measuring. We do recommend you measure at least 3 things, and we can help you do that very simply in Genesis. Average number of visits per patient, average no-show rate, average number of patients that leave without a future appointment. We track that month over month, and we need to make sure that your numbers are trending in the right direction. If they're not, the aforementioned, education, reminder tools, anything to prevent this, we're going to recommend using teamwork. Finally, that follow-up. We want to automate, any sort of task that helps the patient feel special. birthdays, whether or not they have a re-exam coming up, and we want to make sure that they're there for it so they can see the progress that they're being told about, but that they might not be able to feel. You know, I recently know somebody who's lost a bunch of weight, but I see them every single day. And then I'm with them, and somebody from, that they haven't seen 6 months ago comes up and say, "Oh my gosh, you look like a different person." I didn't realize it because I saw them every single day. The other person saw the drastic change and then lost it when they met him, saying, "You look so great." We want to be able to show them that difference from where they're at from first to last, and making sure they get in for those re-exams. We know you can't memory manage that. Not if you're getting to a certain volume, but we want to be able to support you and help you. If anybody has missed X number of days or X number of visits, we want specific escalation to the practice owner. We can do that. And the last thing I'll say is almost anything you want. We can automate lots and lots of things in our system. If there's a way for us to make it better, we want to make sure that you tell us about it. Most of the time we're able to do it. If not, we'll do our best to help. The last thing that I'll go over is referrals. So we know the best way to solidify a relationship. We know it is when a patient makes a referral, you know they're a patient for almost life. They're willing to stake their reputation with their friends, colleagues, or family on how they felt after being treated in your practice. Tracking that, rewarding that, making sure that you're able to identify those sources is super important for us. So as you're billing out visits, as you're changing patient accounts, we're able to track the sources of those. And if you're running promotions, you're able to even use different billable codes or change things in patient accounts to reflect that this patient came from another patient account, or this patient account actually keeps referring. Let's make sure we give them special recognition. That's important to us. We want to make sure that you can identify those patients when it's necessary and help them. But if you don't automate it, then what we find is, and I'll go into the recap here, if you go into any one of these areas, we see providers are good at a couple at a time, but very rarely all of them at once without excellent systems in place. Now, do we meet the superhuman office managers and practice owners that are able to do all of these things? Absolutely. It's just not the norm. And if you're a doctor or a practice owner out there and you're looking to make a change, you're looking to increase the number of visits, and I'll give you an average here. The average practice that's in Genesis has right around 21, 22 visits per patient on average. We have some at almost 45, and we have some, and many, frankly, in 10s, 11s, numbers. If you're looking to improve that, talk to us. We would love to help you put together a plan, if you're a current client or if you're a prospective client, to figure out how to get all of these cylinders hitting at once so that your engine will run faster and smoother. You have to automate this stuff. Educating staff and patients of what to do in these situations is something we can help with. You can hold that staff accountable for being an extension of you as the caregiver, and then you can track their performance and make changes where necessary. That is the crux of how Genesis approaches patient retention, and how we, together with your office, can help more than one person identify chiropractic care, walk through the door and then stick with it is the big point. So that's the presentation for today. I'll definitely open it up for any questions, but we'll ask that you guys chat them in, and we'd be happy to answer them. So opening up the phone lines can be a little challenging, so I ask you guys to type in any questions, and we'd be happy to tackle them. And we'll give it a couple minutes, and if there are no specific patient retention questions, I would be absolutely thrilled to answer any other questions. Today I saw that we have mostly our current clients on this webinar, but a number of people that are not current clients. So I can understand that the questions could range quite a bit today. If there are no questions regarding patient retention, I'll open it up right now to any type of question that there is. All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank everyone for their time today. And again, good luck. And we're counting on all of you guys to keep healthcare growing in the right direction. Thank you so much. Have a great day.